terrorists for years in this attack on those camps? No, I'm not. I'm not saying that that isn't happening at all. What are you talking about? That's the only thing I do know about the history of Pakistan is specifically that. What you're talking about, what you claim to, what you act like I am not acknowledging. I am acknowledging that. That's some of the few things that I do know about the history of Pakistan is specifically that, because of my interest in Pakistan being almost entirely about American involvement in Pakistan. That's some of the few things that I know about Pakistan is that. His chat is shitting on both sides because both are brown. I've seen some saying Allahu Akbar when Indians are on screen. I feel like that's going to be an interesting take. That's going to be an interesting takeaway from a group of individuals that don't know anything and don't really care to understand it, and they're just like, lol. But we hate both sides. I guess we'll fall on the side where, you know, whoever's against the Muslims, I guess we hate less.
India said it was targeting terror camps.
They attacked innocent, unarmed civilians. There is no truth to their claims. There were no such activities here. We live here. We've never seen anything like that. They just did this to spread fear and assert their aggression.
India says it hit 9 terror-related targets, that it showed restraint by avoiding military and civilian sites. But Indian missiles struck deep into Pakistan itself, well beyond Pakistani-controlled Kashmir. This was Bahawalpur, where India said it hit a compound belonging to the militant group Jaish-e-Mohammed. Another destroyed mosque in Muridka, where India said it struck the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba, another group fighting Indian control in Kashmir.
These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible. They focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists likely to be sent across to...
Bombing a religious site first day is insane, brother. India does that inside of its own borders too, so that's not... Let me tell you something, okay? That's a favored classic for Modi, so it's like you can't really... That's a thing he's gonna do.
To India.
Yeah.
But with burials
India has done that to its own Muslim population inside of its own borders. So it's not shocking to me that they would do so in Pakistan as well. So, you know, at least I know about that.
Taking place today after the strikes in Pakistan's Punjab, the heartland of its powerful military, India has delivered a blow to which Pakistan is promising a commensurate response, at a time and of a means, it says, of its choosing. At the same time, it is already claiming a win, saying Pakistani planes shot down 5 Indian military jets inside their own airspace.
The Pakistan Air Force was on full alert and our jets did not cross the borders of Pakistan. As soon as the Indian planes released their payloads, suddenly our Air Force pilots swooped down on them and shot 5 of their planes, including 3 Rafale jets. And they fell in Indian-controlled Kashmir.
The two armies also exchanged artillery fire across the line of control in Kashmir. As many as 13 Indian civilians reported killed, along with at least 6 people on the Pakistani side of the de facto border. This major escalation in a decades-long conflict, catalyzed by the gun attack last month that killed 25 Indians and 1 Nepali national at a beauty spot in Indian-administered Kashmir. India's right-wing nationalist Prime Minister Narendra Modi, shown in muted images addressing his cabinet today. Here's the task, steering this nation through the most serious escalation...
Bro, some Hindutva YouTubers are going to be obsessed with you now? Oh, God damn it. I'm sorry. India #1, please don't come after me, please. India #1, no one else is even #2. It's #1, please. Please. Oh my God. I'm going to get fucking, I'm collecting enemies from virtually every country and every group of right-wing reactionary, literally everywhere around the planet. You know, I'm just catching smoke globally.
In years with its rival nuclear power. Mirror images in Islamabad. Shahbaz Sharif with his grim-faced national security team. Both India and Pakistan fielding international calls for restraint and de-escalation. Both sides also aware of the domestic demand for action and strength.
I wonder if they'll post this and be like, this is anti-Indian racism. They'll be like, these guys are engaging in heinous anti-Indian racism to hit the Israel line. You know what I mean?
Protesters in Karachi today calling for retaliation against India.
You don't understand the numbers. You think Americans are dumb. Think 3 times the population and the Indians will come after you. No, I know. I know.
And across India, civil defense drills in preparation for a possible attack. The likelihood is that a further Pakistani response would be against Indian military targets. The task for both countries now, delicate calibration of blunt military might, enough for deterrence and national pride, stopping short of full-scale war. The region entering a period of genuine jeopardy.
Well, earlier I spoke to Tuhin Sinha, spokesman for the BJP, that's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party, and I asked what he thought India's strikes had achieved.
Well, ideally, it was the responsibility of Pakistan to take the kind of action that we did. It's a shame. Pakistan today is a global embarrassment. The fact that we had to enter another country and act against terrorists who had been given a free run shows that Pakistan was complicit in encouraging these terror activities, and which is a point we have consistently been making to the entire world.
Don't you think India needs to provide the evidence that the Pakistan government was complicit, which it hasn't provided yet in the last 2 weeks?
It doesn't matter. From the last 3 decades, this is not the only attack which has been sponsored by Pakistan. 2008, there was direct complicity. What did Pakistan do? Did Pakistan even try to address the issues we had raised?
Yes, but do you think evidence needs to be provided?
We have given.
It doesn't matter is crazy. Like, I'm sorry. You have not provided evidence for the complicity of the Pakistani government. And his response is, it doesn't matter. That is fucking insane. Please, chatters. Maybe it's an ESL thing. First of all, no, he is very competent with the English language. What are you talking about? Okay. Like, no, he is actively going, nah, don't care. There's plenty of evidence. There's plenty of evidence in my mind, and that's it. It is also shocking that the ruling the ruling party's attitude to crossing a severe boundary. Welcome to India, Hasan. Our politics is somehow more cooked than Turkey's politics. That is an incredible thing to just openly admit in the Western media too. Like, this shit probably plays well on like the Indian version of Fox News. You can be baying for blood like this, but going on like you're not Israel. Okay, I need to explain something to you. BJP, you are not Israel. You don't have a sophisticated network of propaganda and NGOs that you have designed after looking at the failures of the South African apartheid and have created like this incredible propaganda machine in an effort to basically go on and say, of course you're going to give us all the weapons and all the money, and we're going to keep killing fucking terrorists because, you know, it is what it is. We're fighting a war against evil here. You don't get to do that. You can't do that. Here, I'll give you a great example, okay? Israel in the United States of America, Israeli groups are not considered. They're not. They don't have to register as foreign agents. Okay, pro-Israel groups do not register as foreign agents, whereas pro-Indian groups are registered as foreign agents. That distinction should be very clarifying. That distinction in and of itself should be incredibly revealing. If you think that you can get away with saying stuff like this in the Western world, you can't. But I don't know. Maybe the appetite that people have, for death and destruction, where the receiving end of the militancy, or the receiving end of violent acts and severe escalations is Muslim, so maybe they'll go along with it. I don't know.
Yet in the last 2 weeks.
It doesn't matter. From the last 3 decades, this is
it doesn't matter.
not the only attack which has been sponsored by Pakistan. 2008, there was direct complicity. What did Pakistan do? Did Pakistan even try to address the issues?
I think India is so big and has been around for so long and has its own internal caste dynamics and whatnot, that they sometimes forget that, like, the way they see themselves in India is not reflective of the way that white supremacists see Indians in the Western world. It's not dissimilar to the way Turks operate, where they're like, we're above these fucking Arabs, you know? Like, I know this is a Turkish man. Let me tell you, Turks think that they have a Turkic supremacist attitude. They will get very mad when someone in the Western world says, like, you're Arab. Okay? But in the eyes of the Western world broadly, they do think you're no different than Arabs. They think you're Muslim. You're the same kind of person. What the fuck are you talking about? You're scary. Why are you talking to me? And it's the same thing with Indians doing propaganda in the Western world, where I think they are the white guys in their own country, because, you know, I don't mean like literally white in the way that you look at someone and the color of their skin. I'm saying, like, they are the dominant group in their own country, so they come into the Western world and think like, yeah, what are you talking about? Like, of course we're going to do this shit. Most of the white nationalist accounts are legit run by Indians, Lamau. I know. That's why it's so funny when you got all of the, like, defend Western civilization accounts now talking about how Pakistan must be, we must defeat Pakistan. guys with accounts like with the fucking white statue in the PFP posting suspiciously a lot about how Pakistan must be nuked to defend England, I guess. Greek statue PFPs really locked in on this conflict. And not from the perspective of the likes of Asmongold, for example. You know what I mean? Because that would be, like, Asmongold's perspective on this would be like the normal average white guy who doesn't give a shit because they're both brown. Where it's like, yeah, blow each other up. I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Brahmin and North Indian Sangis think they're descendants of the Aryan race. This literally happened on primetime Indian Fox 1 news network. This happens all the time. Brahmin and North Indian Sangis think they're descendants of the Aryan race. That's why they constantly attach themselves to white supremacy this way.
We had raised.
Yes, but do you think evidence needs to be provided?
We have given umpteen dossiers to Pakistan. In fact, you know, between 2004 to 2008, there was a time when almost on an average every 35, 40 days, there would be a big terror attack in India through bomb blasts. Every time we would provide.
Slowly starting to feel every non-white nationalist account is just an Indian Hindu cosplaying as his greatest fantasy. Every person in every nation will celebrate their nation's victory, except Abdul from India. Hindus won an international cricket tournament hosted by Islamic Nation during the holy month of Ramadan. Who hosts? Pakistan. Who lost? New Zealand. Who's crying? Abdul from India. Radiant Christian, Zionist, Justice Crusader. Really dialed in on the latest and greatest of Indian racism technology. It's just, it's wild. All right, let's keep going.
Dossier, they would not act on it. You know, this, you need to understand this is a different country. This is a new India. It would not tolerate terror activities across the border.
Hey, Hasan, top donor here. Got in touch with Tiltify about the anonymization of my donation name plus comment. They confirmed that the name and comment was moderated by the charity itself. It is what it is. All good. Thanks for reading my comment to your audience and humanizing our people in Gaza, such as my aunt. She was one of the many millions of direct and indirect casualties due to Israel's criminal blockade. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. Thank you for being so understanding about this. I think part of the reason why they're also anonymizing the donations is because, as far as I understand, Ethan's community has created a spreadsheet of every single donation that they're tracking so that they can try and find who they are and dox them. Not sure how they would even do that. Not sure how they would even get that information. But yeah. Yeah, it's they're manually adding each name per person. Yeah. Some in H3 community are also suggesting what? Someone on Kiwi Farms mentioned an old charity stream some right-wing creator did where the donations ended up all being returned because people were donating $14.88 and fucked up stuff for their names. It would genuinely be sad if a charity had to give back the money because of that kind of thing, but I would laugh my ass off at snark, to be honest. What an incredibly unhinged thing. What an incredibly unhinged thing to point to. Oh. Yeah, Ethan's community doing canary mission shit. Not Zionist, by the way. I know. Why would they have to give the donations back? Yeah, because if they were doing like racist donations, then yeah, it would be. The Sex Destiny fans put their flair in there. So was Hila Kleiner to identify each other. Okay, I don't know about all that. This 186,000 follower account is also Indian. I'm 99% sure. There's a lot of Hindu posts. Who would you want to win the war? I don't know about the Hila Kleiner thing, but anyway.
And whether there is concrete evidence as of now or not of the particular attack in Pahalgam, fact is that over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has not acted on the numerous occasions we provided them multiple dossiers with evidence.
When do you think India will actually act on the Indus Water Treaty? When will it start trying to cut that water off?
Well, work on that has already begun. There are 4 new hydropower, there are 4 new dams which have been commissioned, to arrest the free flow of water to Pakistan. But these things are we would not be providing every details on public platform, because there has to be an element of surprise. There has to be an element of speculation.
Oh, the guy that posted that. Also is a Destiny poster. Nice. Classic. Shocking.
In these activities.
What's your allies saying? I mean, in the past, we would have seen the Americans urging restraint and the Brits as well. What are your allies saying to India about possible escalation here?
We want partners at this point of time. We are not looking for preachers. The US is with us for sure. They may or may not act in a certain manner or may not put certain words in a message, but we know for a fact that US is with us. They have a very firm anti-terror stand. And therefore, Pakistan does not get the same support from Islamic countries, which it used to get at one point of time.
But it does have support from China, doesn't it?
Well, China has been restrained. I won't hide the fact that China, we don't have there is a trust deficit between India and China. But again, China has been pretty restrained. China has not openly supported Pakistan.
Tuin Sinha, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, I'm joined now by Hina Rabbani Kar, a former Pakistani Foreign Affairs Minister who pushed for closer ties with India. And if you were in government now, would you be arguing for retaliation or for de-escalation?
God, if I could only contextualize what has happened in our region because of the impunity that has been provided to a belligerent, rogue, terrorist state that India has become. And the spokesperson, whatever his name was from BJP, and whatever he said about India is entirely true. India is not the same India, the India that was a democratic India in India, which was a secular India. This is the India of a man, Prime Minister Modi, who was denied entry into the United States, was not issued visa there because of his record of human rights, of human killing in Gujarat. So this is the India that we're talking about, where hyper-nationalism and electoral gains has allowed them, not once, back in 2019, and even before that. I think it all started when I first started calling the world's attention to India becoming a rogue state, when they decided to do away with Security Council resolutions and re-annexed Kashmir, occupied Kashmir at will, and saying now this is India's territory and no one could challenge them on that.
But it was an attack
Pakistan
on
has
Indians that
decided-
started this round of violence, wasn't it?
Look, absolutely, let's start with that. And you know how many attacks there have been on Pakistanis in Balochistan, which we have evidence that we have shared with the UN, unlike India, which decides to say it has no need to share any evidence. As this spokesperson of that Hindutva party, which is dividing India, which is dividing the region and the world, to be honest, said to you in your own program that they have no need to, because there's such impunity that they have no need to. All they have to do is make an accusation and then strike, go against international borders, forgo international law, humanitarian law, go and attack civilians because it feels it has the right to. So you sitting in the United Kingdom right now,
But
if tomorrow
why has Pakistan
France was
allowed
able
these
to-
groups to prosper in Pakistan? Why
Look,
has it not
you are
taken
making
action against them itself?
You are making a supposition over here, and you are assuming that Pakistan has not taken action against terrorist groups when we have lost both civilians and military at higher number than, frankly speaking, any other country to report to terrorist action and to try and protect our country from terrorists. We have repeatedly said to India that terrorism.
Wouldn't this be like if Pakistan held India accountable for like Balochistan separatist movements and then struck directly into India? Like I feel like isn't that what it would look like? Like if they directly struck inside of India to be like, well, there was an act of terror from Balochistan separatists, India. No, they hold India responsible for Balochistan separatist movements. Yes. And just like there is validity to the claims that India is making in terms of like some of these Salafist movements, some of the fundamentalist movements are getting training inside of Pakistani borders. From what I understand, there's also evidence to suggest that they are getting Balochistan separatists are also in a similar situation within Indian boundaries. The point I'm trying to make is that Pakistan has not struck back into Indian territory in the aftermath of like an attack or something. Like they hold India responsible. India holds Pakistan responsible. It's not, I'm not saying that like Pakistan is a country that is not engaging in its own version of what India is doing. Yeah. Pakistan aren't entirely small being country either, but Pakistan attacking Agra or Ludhiana for Balochistan is insane. Yeah. Like it would be akin to Pakistan directly striking inside of Indian territory by claiming, well, Balochistan separatists are actually being trained and armed inside of your boundaries. So tit for tat. How much do you think India being a manufacturing hub plays into when it comes to EU looking the other way when it comes to India's human rights violations? I don't know.
Is a common problem. It's a regional problem, it's an international problem. We need to put forces together for sane elements to come together to be able to deal with rogue elements. But when the state decides to use whatever is at its disposal to become a rogue state, a state itself becomes a terrorist state, then where do you go other than
So
the United
are
Nations or
even
the
you
Security
now
Council?
in favour of
The maximum support Balochistan is getting from India is some couple of millions of dollars. Now, does India send its active trained fighters from India to Pakistan to attack Pakistani civilians? You'd be making a mistake to think that.
retaliation? I mean, you carried out peace talks with India after the
Look,
Mumbai attacks. But do you now want Pakistan to hit back?
I call myself an indefatigable optimist in Pakistan vis-a-vis India, because I looked at myself as a citizen of the region, a citizen of the world, and saw that entire poverty in the subcontinent, and everything that we had done was not to create circumstances of prosperity, but the other way around. When I was foreign minister, the Pakistan People's Party government decided to start trade negotiations with India to really move away, because I believed I was a generation which was post-1971, and there was no question of wars again.
Right, but
And
should
then,
Pakistan hit
unfortunately,
now? I mean, let's come back to my very first question. Should
I am
they
absolutely
retaliate or
going
should
to-
they step back?
So should Pakistan wait?
Yeah, that chatter. I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, cursory analysis here, but solid bits of evidence proving that India supports terrorist forces in some Pakistani areas like Balochistan province, providing them with money, weapons, and training. Some sources close to the matter told the Global Times. While continually suppressing some of its rivals and neighbors in the international community with the excuse of anti-terrorism, India has secretly funded terrorist forces in Pakistan in various parts of the South Asian countries, such as the separatist plagued Balochistan, inciting local secessionists to undermine regional stability through terrorist attacks they revealed. Obviously, this is a very biased article, by the way. Through looking into historical materials related to news reports from both Pakistani and Indian media sources, the Global Times found that India has a long history of backing terrorism in Pakistan. India's involvement in destabilizing Pakistan is a matter of serious concern. The case of Kulb Hussain Jadhav, a serving Indian naval officer, is clear evidence of state-sponsored terrorism and subversive activities. By the way, this isn't to say, I need you to understand something. This isn't to fucking say that, Pakistan has a right to, one, rip through the Balochistan separatist movement and then simultaneously strike India. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm simply stating is, if you're looking at state actors on both sides of this conflict, one state actor has escalated to a degree where Pakistan has not. That's all I'm saying. It would be akin to Pakistan saying, well, there's evidence that you have offered direct training to Balochistan separatists, so we're going to strike Indian targets. Again, it's very similar to Kashmir in that the legit grievances of the Baloch against Pakistan are buried in the broader rhetoric of Pakistan versus India. Baloch have legitimate grievances with Pakistan and Kashmiris with India. Their voices are silenced in the broader geopolitical theater that India and Pakistan are playing. Yeah.
For India to make a next claim at will, whichever parts of Pakistan, inside Pakistan's sovereign territory, to make claims unsubstantiated.
I get this is to say, why don't you give screen time to Pakistan terrorists? Where did the past terrorists live, train, and were born? Brother, first of all, wait, what? Has never strived for democracy. India, like every other democracy, has ups and downs, but there's a whole entire midnight between India and Pakistan. She is so full of trash, but they don't have camps in India. Ironically, the camps are still in Pakistan. I get this isn't to say, why don't you give screen time to Pakistan terrorists? Where did the past terrorists live, train, and were born? What did she say that was like so fucked up?
Unsubstantiated claims, and claims that they feel they have no right or no responsibility to give evidence, not only to Pakistan, but even to the international community, because the BJP, Jay Shankar, and Prime Minister Modi cannot take responsibility for their internal security, which is a result of political engineering that they have done in Kashmir in front of the world, if they cannot take responsibility, if they want to outsource all the security problems on Pakistan's name.
She called India a terrorist rogue state. Yeah, I don't think that is fucked up to say. What are you talking about? Yeah, it is. What are we talking about? So is Israel. So is America. Any state that violates the sovereignty of another nation state. So is Russia. A great example of this would be Russia. Any state that violates the sovereignty of another state and strikes civilian targets is a fucking rogue terrorist state. She didn't even say India is a terrorist rogue state. I think she just said India is a rogue state. But I would go so far as to say, yeah, they're doing terrorism. Also, her analysis on the matter is putting the BJP guy in a very different light. Like she's coming across way more restrained and way more informed instead of just simply saying, I don't give a shit that there's no evidence, no direct ties to Pakistan involvement in the terror attack that took place. Who gives a fuck? They've been doing this for 30 years. We have to get blood. Seems a little crazy to say, especially when you're trying to defend your position in the Western world by presenting yourself as like a reasonable, restrained, sovereign nation state.
And then attack at will and kill civilians, women, children, send them to hospitals in large.
I'm sorry, I'm vehemently anti-Modi and his agenda, but to call India a rogue terrorist state is absolutely incorrect. I mean, this severe escalation that violates all. This is a rogue terrorist action. A rogue terrorist state action. That's precisely what that was. What happened. Like, just like what Russia has done in Ukraine makes it a rogue terrorist state.
Tens of numbers. Which state would you recommend to lie quietly and wait for the next attack to come by these belligerent, nationalist, Hindutva, India state terrorists?
I don't think you guys understand like what this is doing to previous international considerations that were basically held together by ticker tape, okay? Held together by wishes and a fucking promise that two states, especially with nuclear arms, are not supposed to directly engage in conflict with one another without like the go-ahead of either sovereign nation. Like there's a reason why countries engage in deconfliction even when they're actually fighting against one another. Like America and Russia communicate flight paths. You understand that? These are foreign adversaries that communicate flight paths with one another. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? Have you ever wondered why they do that? It's so that what is happening right now, does not fucking happen. And the very fact that even if you have direct evidence, of Pakistan involvement, okay, the Pakistan government's involvement and protection, you still have to be restrained when dealing with these sorts of affairs, especially when you're talking about another nuclear armed state. If there's any proof that they directly targeted civilian locations and harmed civilians, I would agree with you. So far, I have not seen evidence. What? What do you mean? We just looked at this article. What are you talking about? Militant group chief says relatives killed in India strike. They hit a mosque, chatter. They killed children in a mosque. The fuck? That's completely insane to do.
Thank you very much for joining us. So how has it all come to this? And is there any player on the global stage who can step in to encourage the two sides to move towards a peaceful resolution? India and Pakistan had only been independent for months when they fought their first war over the fate of Kashmir in 1947. Thousands died.
Chatters, he immediately said, okay, my bad, I hadn't seen that, okay? It's fine. Like he just didn't see it.
Before a UN brokered ceasefire.
Muslims count on others' restraint so they can take advantage of others' reasonability, just like China and their blatant theft of intellectual property and processes, and using others to own court systems against them while foreigners lose all legal action in China. Yeah, China, the Muslim nation. Muslims love it when others are restrained so they can take advantage of others' reasonability. Yeah, Muslims love taking advantage of the restraint that America demonstrated after 9/11, where it went on a complete destabilizing mission, tens of millions of people displaced, millions of people killed directly through war in countries that were not even remotely involved with 9/11. Ironically enough, in an effort to hunt down the people that we had trained in the past, sometimes inside of Pakistan, ironically enough. Wow. So much restraint. So much restraint. When I think about the way that the Western world treats Muslim nations, restraint is not the first word that comes to mind. But then also, I doubly find it hilarious that you said just like China, the Muslim nation of China. You can't even shake this guy. And yet, Western nations still accept them in their own countries, in our own lands. What does this have to do with American foreign policy in the Middle East? People think their own state's designation of terrorist applied and withdrawn whimsically are the end-all be-all of who's a terrorist and who isn't. There's a subjective designation by your state, and then there's actual definition of terrorism objectively applied globally. Most countries at the pinnacles of power engage in terrorism frequently and capriciously. Yes.
Left the majority.
So you admit that Pakistan is a training hub for terrorism? Yes, and for the record, so is India to a certain degree, okay? Yes. Pakistan has been historically a training hub for terrorism. Literally. Why is this news to you? Yes. Who, for whose interest is the question you must ask. For whose interest was Pakistan a training ground for terrorism? I wonder who played a formative role in this happening. The thing that pisses me off is that India and Pakistan were essentially countries entirely whole cloth manufactured by the elites, both of Muslim and upper caste Hindu background. If you actually look at who was in the Muslim League in Congress, it's entirely upper caste Muslims and Hindus. The dichotomy between Pakistan and India is entirely fake. Yeah, RSS is a terrorist group in India, dude. What are you talking about? And they are significantly, they have significantly more influence and prominence within India than fucking ascetic jihadist or Salafist groups do in Pakistan. This is, again, not even a defense of Pakistan. I am perfectly cognizant and also very aware of the training grounds and the madrasas that existed inside of Pakistan. Who benefited from that, I wonder?
Muslim region divided, with the promise of a vote to allow Kashmiris to have a say in their future. But that never happened. In the wake of a second war in 1965 came the establishment of a de facto border known as the Line of Control, a heavily fortified stretch of military outposts. There have been several flare-ups since with cross-border firing.
I'm going to give you guys whiplash after this is done, by the way. Doors open. I'm going to give you guys severe whiplash when we move away from this and have like a brief moment of solace where we do drip check and fit check and Met Gala responses, only to go back to this in a little bit, okay? Because Wisdom and Frugal Aesthetic are here right now.
And in 1999, an upsurge of fighting in the Kargil district lasting 10 weeks was brought to an end by US mediation between the now nuclear-armed nations.
We're going to cover you on 3.
After the 9/11 attacks, the United States' relationship with Pakistan became vital to its war on terror. But America's withdrawal from Afghanistan saw it drop Pakistan as a strategic partner. Now America is much closer to India, seeing it as a vital partner in containing Chinese power in Asia.
I think the other big shift in the region is that China and Pakistan have also moved much more close together. China has sold Pakistan very advanced military equipment. And although China isn't necessarily willing to protect Pakistan from attack, I think it is willing to give Pakistan diplomatic cover in places like the United Nations.
Normally, the world would expect America to try to mediate again. But Donald Trump is not obviously engaged with the matter. Yesterday, he claimed the two countries, who've only existed since 1947, have been fighting for hundreds of years. Well, here with me is Alexander Evans, who served as Deputy and Acting High Commissioner in both India and Pakistan. He's now a professor at the London School of Economics. Well, we've heard both sides, and pretty belligerent they are. Let's start with the initial claim. Could that first attack in Indian-administered Kashmir have happened without Pakistani complicity or knowledge?
Could that attack have happened without the infrastructure that supports terrorist groups? Probably not. Do we know enough yet to know the precise details of attribution as to who was responsible and what the details were? Probably not yet.
Do you think we'll get the evidence?
We may, and I think different governments, India will have evidence, Pakistan will have evidence, other countries will have evidence. The question is what will be released publicly, I think, particularly in this battle for information that we're already seeing taking place.
And we heard Pakistan's counterclaim that India supports Baluchistan militants in Pakistan. Is that likely also to be true?
I think what you get is allegations on both sides. The challenge here is discerning what is accurate from what is not. What we do know is that a large group of tourists were gunned down in Kashmir, and that has triggered the most serious crisis between India and Pakistan that we've seen for, I would argue, well over a decade.
Right. Is there any external player that's relevant here? Or is this a bilateral question that they need to work out themselves?
The ultimate decisions, I think, will be made in Islamabad and Delhi. These are two sovereign nations, they're proud nations, and they'll make decisions that they see in their own national interests. The interesting question is how much Islamabad may listen to Beijing, given the proximity of Pakistan and China. And China has played a discreet and quiet role in crises past. But what you're seeing is a chorus of different states engaged, encouraging de-escalation.
We got a 1K dono, anonymous 1K dono, hell yeah.
Not necessarily condemning India's choice to take military action.
And what would China's position likely be? Because China is also in dispute with India over...
I'm realizing how deep nationalism for India is ingrained in me before my eyes in the wake of this escalation. Every point you're making is so logical, but there's an internal resistance within me that's getting sad/mad, and I have to actively work to shut that part off and listen to the merits of the arguments. Just saying everyone isn't perfect, chat. It's okay to be on a journey. Hell yeah, chatter. I mean, that's what's incredibly important to do in a situation like this. And it's one that I have also had to go through when thinking about like Kurdish resistance in Turkey, or even unlearning the way I was taught about the Armenian genocide in Turkish education. This is a very important moment of reflection, and it's at the heart of my commentary to try to get people to develop a different understanding of the world. And it's the same thing that I do for Americans who also look at the situation and develop resentment and lean into their biases from the jump. Lean into their biases from the jump and just try to comfort themselves by refusing to entertain an alternative perspective. Is the Israel parallel that hard to see? It's not necessarily an Israel parallel, because this is state versus state, two nuclear armed states. I was in a similar situation growing up. I had to unlearn all the Indian nationalism and the Pakistani hate and Islamophobia that I was inundated with. It's a long process, but I hope I can help my fellow Indians get there someday. Yeah. Exactly.
A part of Kashmir.
My sense is that China's risk appetite in terms of India-Pakistan relations is not that different to the risk appetite in Washington or London or Paris or indeed in Riyadh. Most other countries don't want to see India and Pakistan go to war. I think it can be argued that India and Pakistan's populations and governments don't want to go to war. But this crisis is anchored on a terrorist incident and a policy by India that has been in place for some time that said that there would be attacks or a response.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're being clip-chipped again, live on air. Boner Box on East Stream and try to dissect the history of the context speaker response, and apparently you believe that Jews control America. Lamau, please, I can't do this anymore. What? Okay. I have guests here, and I can't cover that. But is that the? I saw that clip that they were trying to falsely smear me with. There's a clip out there, I think, on one of the subreddits that they're using / the actual context of the situation too. So I don't. This community's fucking bricked. I swear, I know. Anyway, I mean, it's just false smears over and over again. It is what it is. I think it's one of the most resilient aspects of my commentary is the fact that I consistently rail against people who make this false claim that Israel and Jews control America or some shit like that. So they most likely clipped, just like when I said this right now, they most likely clipped me being sarcastic and actually attacking that argument to make it seem like I'm in favor of it. Let's take a look. Arabs that wanted to collaborate with America basically said, no, you don't understand. It's actually the Israeli lobby that dominates. It's actually the Jews that dominate America. I mean, I also don't disagree with what he's saying. I often will talk about, obviously, AIPAC and the wait, what? This is literally me describing once again that no, Jews do not control America, and people are fucking stupid and anti-Semitic for saying that. This clip is directly me responding to Hasan Nasrallah's position. What the fuck? And the Zionist lobby. Secretary General Hasan Nasrallah, the U.S. can force Israel to do anything. Arabs invented the joke that the Jewish lobby controls America in order to excuse their financial ties with the U.S. and they're refraining from fight from Israel. That's so funny. He's saying that, like, Arabs that wanted to collaborate with America basically said, no, you don't understand. It's actually the Israeli lobby that dominates. It's actually the Jews that dominate America. I mean, I also don't disagree with what he's saying. I often will talk about, obviously, don't disagree with what Hasan Nasrallah is saying, which is directly attacking the argument that Jews control America and the Zionist lobby, but will always tell you it is far beyond that. That the Zionist lobby, alongside the NRA, for example, alongside many of these institutions, are not capable of, like, legitimately changing the status quo, which is why you can't lobby the American Congress and turn them socialist, okay? It's a laughable notion. The money corresponds to the moneyed interests and is there in times of need, okay? Right now is a time of need. Right now, AIPAC is working desperately round the clock to ensure that American congresspersons don't fuck up and, don't speak out of turn. And if they do speak out of turn, if they do speak against the American State Department interests, that they will turn around and punish them. Jamal Bowman is a great example of this. Okay? But they are not personally changing someone's mind dramatically. It's like if a pro-union guy receives 50K campaigns dollars from the UAW. It's not a bribe if you agree with it. Yes.
بيأكد كل اللي كنا نقوله سابقا انه لا الامريكان بس بدهم يشغلوا يوقفوها بيوقفوها انه الامريكي ما بيقدر يفرض على الاسرائيلي هذا حكي فاضي توفيق نظريات انه اسرائيل هي حاكمه امريكا لا حبيبتي امريكا هي
No sir, it is America that controls Israel. The story about the Jewish and the Zionist lobby is, forgive me for saying this,
هاي ما تواخذوني نكتة عربية
a joke invented by the Arabs so they do not have to fight Israel.
العرب ما يقاتلوا.
Didn't you say do not engage with dumb people in the chat? Don't bother contacting. They don't fuck with you, brother. Wasting your energy. Look, I sent Dan this exact link and also told him, hey, Dan, I don't know why they're trying to imply I'm saying Jews control America using a clip where I'm actually railing against people saying this. I really hope you guys can clear this up. Yeah, you send it to Dan, but Dan's a lying enabler at this point, dude. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how he reacts to it. Dan is complicit, you fucking rube. This shit happens every stream. We will have to do this for every clip, every episode that they do. It's nothing new. But this is one of the most vicious smears. Yeah, it's a direct. It is a direct lie. Like a direct lie. It's so vicious. It's such a vicious lie. It's one of the things that y'all acting like Hasan is more aware of the situation with the people he knows than you. Yeah, it's a vicious lie that directly undermines an argument that I constantly rail against. Apparently, Nasrallah didn't say America controls Israel because he wanted to counter anti-Semitic rhetoric, but because he didn't want to admit the defeat to Israel. So the excuse is America is being the big bully protects Hezbollah's image. He's promoting a content cop on iDubbbz made by a dude who exclusively uploads lolly content from a banned game.
They do this so that they can go to America, deposit their money there, and establish relations with America under the pretext that they are establishing an Arab lobby in order to compete with the Jewish lobby. After 75 years, we can see what came out of the Arab lobby. It's crazy, man. All right. We'll move on. We'll move on from this. We're gonna get into some fun stuff for a little bit. Okay. Are you guys ready? You can pull up now.